Everyone. So Damian Lillard is the main attraction right now, right? What is going to happen with Damian Lillard? Is Miami going to be able to figure out a 3-team deal or however many team deal to land Damian Lillard? I think it makes the most sense. I actually would love to see Damian Lillard on Miami. I actually think that may end up being the best fit for Damian Lillard, just because their two stars kind of do everything great that Damian Lillard doesn't do well, and vice versa. And I just think it would just be a very seamless fit, right? I think that would help a lot. But Damian Lillard, he's going to take up the headlines the next few days. And that could bode poorly for James Harden, right? Because he wants to be traded. He asked to be traded first. But no, at a serious note, like he's a guy that, for all intents and purposes, wants out of Philadelphia. I think the reason is absolutely just silly. I think it's just James Harden wanting to just find an excuse to get out. He's upset based on the reports. He's upset because Houston wouldn't talk to him before free agency about a contract or what they were going to do, because they got fined for tampering because they did that with you earlier. And they can't afford to lose any more assets because they already lost assets. But James Harden wants to pout and cry, and it's becoming a habit with him. Okay, he did it in Houston. All right, it made sense. They weren't trying to win at that point. Go to a team that can win. So he forces his way to go to the Nets. I don't like how he did that. He basically just gave up on the team. Like, completely just gave up on the team in Houston. Goes to the Nets, his destination, and then just gives up on the Brooklyn Nets. And then he gets traded to Philly and lays a goose egg, and Philly gets eliminated, and he gives you all these false promises and stuff. And then this year, he was, don't get me wrong, he was great again in the regular season. I believe he led the league in assists, 21 points, 10 assists. Like, the guy was solid, but then you get to the playoffs, and he's disappears again. He's a disappearing act. He has a couple good games, but they don't outweigh the bad games. And now, once again, he wants out for some silly reason. And it's like, now what? Now you're going to go to another team, and then and he's not the same James Harden. He doesn't have the same step. He's not as effective. He's not as consistent as he once was, even in the regular season. The NBA is trying to make rules and changes that affect and impact the way that he plays the game. And I just think James Harden is more of a liability at this point for teams. It's like, we're going to trade and give up all these assets for James Harden, and how much of an impact is he? Like, what team can James Harden go to and you look at them and go, man, that's a contender? Right? Like, the Clippers do make sense. And look, if the Clippers can stay healthy, then yeah, like, that could bode very well, right? James Harden playing, if he needs to go to a place where he can be just playmaker, right? Where he can go be that 20 and 10 guy. Give you 20 points, 10 assists, but he doesn't have to be the second option or the first option. He needs to be a guy that, he can just defer. And the Clippers make a lot of sense because you got Paul George, you got Kawhi Leonard, you got two guys that they can be the 1A, 1B, and then James Harden can just kind of trickle in his points. They got a bunch of shooting around it. Like, the Clippers seem like a match made in heaven for James Harden. But he's complained about that in Philly, right? Like, he didn't want to be just a point guard, right? He kind of wants to play like he did in Houston. But nobody wants you to play like you did in Houston. It wasn't a formula for success. You didn't win anything. You didn't do anything. And you're a worse version of that now. And it's just, now it's almost like he's becoming a problem. And look, Philly doesn't have to trade him. Philly could say, tough, you know what, figure it out, right? Like, you're stuck on this team. And the Clippers, who seemed like the most viable option for him and seemed like the team that wanted to make a push to go get him, they just signed Russell Westbrook again. So does James Harden still make sense? I mean, look, if you could bring in James Harden and have Russ off the bench, that could be pretty interesting. That could be pretty dynamic. You could even run, because James' ability to shoot the three and play off the ball a little bit, you could even run both of them, kind of have that reunion of the OKC days. But again, it's like the Clippers make a world of sense, but do they still want him? And does a trade make sense? Like, what are they going to give up that makes sense for James Harden for Philly? And we saw Daryl Morey basically tell Ben Simmons no. Like, and Ben Simmons was doing everything he could to get traded. He was showing up to practices and being as disruptive as he could. He was sitting there on his phone in the middle of, like, team meetings and stuff. Like, he was doing everything. Daryl Morey was like, I don't care. You do whatever you want to do. You're playing. Like, you know, or we'll trade you when we find something. And then they ended up trading for James Harden. So, look, Daryl Morey's not just going to trade James Harden, just trade James Harden because James Harden wants to be traded. Like, you know, say that 10 times fast. But, like, it's just, it makes no sense for Philly to do that. And, like, where is he going to go that's that much better? Right? Like, the problem is that James Harden bet on having options, and it turns out he doesn't. All the talk was he was going to Houston, and Houston was a lock, and blah, blah, blah. And Houston was like, nah, it's okay. We'll overpay Fred VanVleet rather than bringing you in. Which I said, did it make sense for Houston to bring in James Harden? It didn't. Why? You want to bring in adults, you want to bring in veteran guys to help the young guys. James Harden is the last person. He's over here gambling in Vegas and going to strip clubs and stuff before playoff games and stuff. Like, and look, he's not the first player to do that, but is that the example you want for your young guys? I don't think so. So, you know, he kind of put his eggs in a basket that Houston was going to want him back and welcome him open arms, and they just said, no, well, we'd rather overpay for Fred VanVleet and overpay for Dylan Brooks, then sign James Harden. That tells you a lot about James Harden. Tells you everything you need to know. And the well is drying up. And look, Damian Lillard is a distraction right now from that. And maybe, just maybe, one of the teams that don't get Damian Lillard, maybe they go, okay, well, our consolation prize could be James Harden. But I don't know how good of the consolation, like, what team would he be able to go to that makes it, like, if he could have forced his way to, like, the Celtics, I think that's another team that makes sense. Like, with Tatum and Brown, he can just be, he needs to go to a team where he doesn't have to be the first or second option, and he can just be point guard. Because he's arguably the best point guard in the league when he's locked in a game. I'm talking about, like, pure point guard, right? Like, you can make arguments for whoever you want, but, I mean, the dude led the league in assists and still gave you 20 a game and was very efficient during the regular season and very good for them over the race. Like, this, he's a very good playmaker. He's very good at getting teammates involved. He's very good at generating assists and just offense. So, that's what he needs to focus on. He needs to transition and take that step back and say, okay, I'll be the point guard. I'll be that playmaker. And find a team that could use that. Like, the Clippers make a lot of sense in that regard, right? But again, they just signed James Harden, or just signed Russell Westbrook. So does James Harden make sense now? Or do the Clippers look at it as like, okay, well, no reason to really go get James Harden anymore? That's another option that just dried up. And, you know, I mean, look, if a team can get him for pennies on the dollar, then maybe a team takes a flyer, right? Like, if the Clippers could get him for just basically expiring contracts, I'm sure that they would. I'm sure that they would figure it out. I mean, if you had to, you could even just start Russ and Harden. Have Russ at the point, Harden at the 2, Kawhi at the 3 or the 4, and George at the 3 or the 4, and then Zoo at the 5, and then there you go. Like, so it's not like because they got Russell Westbrook, it makes zero sense to get James Harden, but, like, I just think the need for James Harden isn't as big as it once was, because Russell Westbrook was very good for the Clippers. He was very good for the Clippers. He had his, like, most effective and efficient stretch, but I think James Harden painted himself into a corner and ended up in a rock and a hard place. And he's hoping that somebody comes in and bails him out. He's hoping the Clippers come and make an offer, or somebody comes and makes an offer. And like I said, maybe when the Damian Lillard situation is all said and done, maybe a team goes, okay, well, we weren't able to get Dame, but let's go try to get James Harden, right? Like if Miami misses out on Damian Lillard, does Miami go, okay, well, let's try to make a push for James Harden, right? Maybe, maybe that's something that they do. They go, okay, well, if Damon ended up going to Utah, right? Because Utah seems to be a option now, or San Antonio or something like that. And it's like, well, dang, we really need somebody. Let's go make a push for James Harden. Maybe you could get James Harden, right? Or maybe another team comes out of the woodworks. The Knicks supposedly want James Harden. Maybe they finally cave and trade for James Harden. I don't think he makes sense for the Knicks, and I don't think the Knicks, I don't know why the Knicks would want him, but nonetheless, it's a team that seems to want him, right? It might happen. I just think it's getting to the point with James Harden where it's like, you're not the guy you once were. Your antics are not something that teams want to really put up with and deal with anymore, because you're not that guy. When you were MVP, top 3 to 5 guy in the league, sure, teams are willing to do that. Now, you're kind of an upgraded version of another guy. He's almost borderline glorified role player at this point. So I just think teams aren't as pumped to sign up for the James Harden deal. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you think yeah, I agree? James Harden, he's just, again, it's a pattern. He's showing a pattern. Like, this is becoming who he is. And it's not somebody that I think teams want to sign up for. So, and I do think Damian Lillard requesting a trade is a distraction, right? Otherwise, I think there would be maybe a little more traction or a little more word on James Harden. It's kind of been quiet. And who knows, maybe something develops, maybe while you're watching this video, something develops, who knows? But anyway, again, I have a feel whatever your thoughts are.